looking to take a trade, especially if you're trying to go against like a candlestick formation like this, like let's say you're trying to trade an M or a W, right? So in this case right here, we do have a head and shoulders. So I'm looking, me personally, I'm going off the candlestick formation, right? It's coming down. I'm looking for it to break this neckline here. This is the neckline. So if it breaks that neckline and closes below the neckline, I'm going to look for a retest of the neckline for it to continue down. Now, the way I typically trade head and shoulders, and the way all of my students, or I've taught all of my students to trade head and shoulders, is to sell the regular head and shoulders, is to sell on the top of the right shoulder, your stop loss above the high on the left. Okay. So that right there, 10, 15, 20 pips above it. Can vary depending on the pair and depending on the volatility. Anyways, so I'm entering sells here and here, right? By the time it gets down here, my stop loss is into profit because on the high of that right or the high of the left shoulder, like on the candle body, my highest is 1845, and then on the when it got down to this low over here, when it formed that support at the bottom of these candles here, candle bodies, we are at 1831. So that's a 130 pip trade. So it wasn't necessarily a bad sell. Risk reward was good, trade was good, analysis was good. But again, I ended up just taking partials on that trade and then breaking even on the second half of my entry because it did buy all the way up. Now, a couple of issues that have been brought up to me throughout the week are that people are 100 pips in profit, 50 pips in profit, 80 pips in profit, 500 pips in profit, and they end up taking a loss. So that to me is really difficult to understand because that's why I tell you guys to move your stop loss to your entry after a certain amount of pips. And that certain amount of pips doesn't necessarily have to be 30 pips like mine or 50 pips or whatever. Set something for yourself so you don't take an unnecessary loss. If it's going to keep going, it's most likely going to keep going anyways, right? No matter how long you sit there and stare at your phone or whatever. But on that note, took partials about here at this support and then went back up, got stopped out at entry. Okay, which is okay because we still made a little bit of profit. We didn't catch our full profit, but it was still a good trade. Now coming back up, right, for the buy signal, I kept telling Keezy kept asking. That was a really good question, really super valid question. I think he asked a couple of times like, hey, is this buy valid? Is it valid? Is it good? Is it good to enter now? Whenever. And I said, yeah, but wait for the break and the retest of the high of the left shoulder. Because when you do that, you're not sitting in the trade for 5 days hoping something's going to happen. You're going to know if it's going to work like right away. So again, you guys, I always recommend waiting for breaks and retests and also waiting for more confirmation. So here, right, if you're using just simple, this is just simple stuff, like no indicators or anything, right? This is just a simple break and retest, buy up. And you could have even bought to the previous high at 1871. Let's say you got in, not the best entry, 1850. That's still 200 pips to a 200 pip trade, right? And then from there, you could have moved your stop loss to below the zone and rode it up to the next, which was at 1890. It's 400 pips, a 400 pip trade, relatively low risk. So now, right, we're going up to this previous high over here. That's also a pretty heavy resistance. So for me, again, you can look for a buy area around here at 1870, but I wouldn't be interested in any buying positions from right now until it hits at least that. And then we'll see what price does around there. If we see rejection or maybe an inverse head and shoulders, a W, some kind of gravestone doji or inverted, whatever. If we see something that's showing us a reversal, we'll take it, right? Or a continuation, we'll take it. But until then, I would say stay out of it. If you're not in this sell right here. But yeah, so that was gold. And let me show you guys why I lost GU. So I don't know if the gap's on trading view as well. Oh yeah. Okay, let's check this shit out. So we have a 140 pip gap right here. Okay, so from the bottom of this close right here at 132, let's say 150, 32, 150, all the way up to 33, 550. Okay, so 140 pip weekend gap. That's pretty rough, right? If you were to sell it at the end of the week or whatever. But so when I called the signal, I think I called the signal either I believe I go back and look at the exact position that I called, but I believe I called it here, 33.50, and then I think we caught 50 pips. Yeah, caught 50 pips. and then hit my stop loss. Okay, so what I thought it was going to do was come up here. Okay, so I thought it was going to come down, retest this here, retest this price, and then continue down from there. But it did not. And so what I realized that I missed was that weekend gap provided us with an inverse head and shoulders. I'm sure you guys have seen that by now, but I hadn't seen that. So right here, we have our arm coming down, shoulder, head, shoulder, back up. This threw me off quite a bit. This is like a little fake out move, I think. This is what made me want to sell it again, right? So I didn't send the signal again. I ended up selling it again myself and ended up losing that trade. Okay, so I sold it after this break and retest here because I was expecting it to come back down to at least fill the gap before coming up. But obviously that's not what happened. So thankfully I didn't send that second trade. But that's what I was looking at. That's why I lost the trade. And then also too, I sold it here. Stop loss to entry, got stopped out at entry. I'm selling it again because for me, every time I've ever traded a gap, every single time, even if it goes up, you know, another 300 pips from here, every single time I've ever traded a gap, it's filled. And from backtesting, I went back and backtested years. And every time I've seen a gap, especially a 100 pip plus gap, it has filled. Now, tricky thing about trading gaps, sometimes it will fill the same day. Sometimes they usually fill within 24 hours. Even if it's just a quick tap fill, then continue, they'll usually fill within 24 hours. This has been a 3-4 day excursion, not filling the gap. But there is still one there. So I'd still sell I still say the chance of a sell is highly, highly likely. Is Josh in here? Josh Wood in here? Not Tan. My bad. No. Josh, okay, this Josh Borders is selling GJ, and it's the same thing on GJ. Going up for the sell, but I did not take the sell right off the bat. I'm waiting to see what it does around this level, and then also too, if it breaks down below this one here. I'd like to see it break below here, come back up, touch this, about right there, and then come down to fill the gap. So once it retests, once it breaks down below like 139.750, at least I want to see it break and close below that, and then I want to see it retest up to here, and then from there come down. That price is like 140. So I like to see a retest of at least 140 once it's already broken down though. After it does that, I'll probably hold the trade until it at least fills this gap. So it's a 200-300 pip trade, easy. And you should be able to get in with a really, really low risk entry. I'll send a signal too, but just so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Also, this provided a perfect entry, which I did not catch. I was outside doing some shit, but this was a great entry at yesterday's right before close. But like I said, I didn't catch that. If you did catch it, great. I'd say you can move your stop loss to entry if you haven't. And if you want to enter, I would say wait. I would say I'm not entering right now again. I'm waiting for another break and retest of this here. Either up to the previous high or up to this lower high right here. This lower low right here, and then come down. Either way though, I'm short on it until it fills this gap. I didn't take the seller buy on this yet, but I plan on doing so. And then NAS. Let's talk about nasty NAS. NAS has been slaying it. NAS has been slaying pretty good. So coming up here, right, we have that bigger trend line, and we have this one here. This is main trend line. So if you are looking to do anything with it, especially sell it. Okay. If you would like to sell NAS, I'm waiting for it to break this current trend line right here. This is a nice solid trend. So I'd say until it breaks below this, the sell is invalid. Even though we have, if you guys use RSI, I'm not sure if you guys use RSI or not, but if you do, it is extremely high. I think it's like 60. Yeah, it was 70 on the 1 hour, and on the 4 hour, I think it was like 65, 70. Yeah, 70. And on the daily too, it's getting pretty high as well. It looks like we have a little bit of divergence. So right here at this high, we have our RSI at 71, and then RSI is at 67 on this one, on this high. Even though the high is higher, the RSI is lower, so that's divergence. So we can expect from that is a huge pullback. I'd say at least until the gap fill again. This is at 12,750. There's a gap at 12,380. So the gap at 12,380, it needs to be filled. And at some point in time, it's going to be filled. We just have to determine when. So my best analysis, my best guess would be to wait for the break of this purple trend line here, wait for the retest here, and then sell it down from there. Once it hits this point right here, I would say you're good to move your stop loss to your entry. Although, right, so this would be a break-even trade. If it does go back up from here, it'll probably take you out. That's okay because you won't lose anything. We can look for another entry. But I'd say around this price where it's at right now, we're looking for a sell. And then once it breaks this other secondary trend line, we should be pretty good all the way up until like 12.5. Where's 12.5 at? All the way down to here. And then from there, we'll probably see another pullback. And then we'll come back down to that fill that gap at 12,380. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm not taking any trades at this moment currently, but it's also a shitty time to trade. It's 5 o'clock p.m. for me. So I'm not entering anything right now, but that's what I'm looking for coming up. Also too, I know Bitcoin's at 23,000 and I know it's booming, right? But the monthly RSI is extremely high. Weekly RSI is extremely high. Daily RSI is extremely high. So at some point in time, expect another pretty big pullback like we had, like right here. So this is before this nasty pump right here from was that wedge that I sent in the Signal group and the Discord. I think it was right here. Yeah, so this was that wedge that I sent. Right? So breakout of the wedge, broken retested, sell it down. That went down from 19.3 to 17.6. So what is that? 1,800 pips, 1,700 pips, or $17,000? No, $1,700. Anyways, went down $1,700 and then skyrocketed. So same shit. I'd wait for a larger pullback if you're looking to enter for a buy, or if you want, you can risk it. You can buy here and then put your stop loss below these lows here. But I'm waiting for it to form a more strong support or resistance before I do anything with it now. Okay, that's it. That's it for me. I'm good. I'm done. So here, I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording it. And if you guys want, you guys can ask questions and we'll go over whatever you'd like to go over.